Welcome to Verified. I'm Faye D'Souza. Thank you for joining us. I have a really special guest in the studio, and I'm so happy to have this conversation with her because we've met a couple of times and I'm very fond of her. She's really cool. Manushi Chhillar is Miss World, and this is a really cool time to have this conversation. Manushi, first of all, thank you for coming into the studio.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to chat with you. This is an important time to have this conversation because your 1 year as Miss World is nearly up.
Yeah, I mean, I was crowned 18th last year on 18th of November. So yeah, I have 3 days more to go to complete my anniversary.
Okay.
And then 8th of December, I crown the next girl.
So your last couple of weeks as Miss World, and then you.
Yeah, last couple of weeks.
And is there some sort of like sadness that you have to give up the crown?
I mean, you do have a sense of attachment because I've been doing it for 1 year.
Yeah.
And your team becomes your family. But I'm more excited to see what's next in life because this whole experience it changes you. You see so much, you travel so much. So I want to see another girl go through this journey and experience all of that. So I want that opportunity to go to someone else now.
And you're 20 years old.
21.
You're 21 now.
21.
You're 21 now. So you're really young, and there'll be a lot of young people in the country who will identify with that certain amount of nervousness. What do I do next? Like there's a big question now, right? So you are you going back to medical school? Are you finishing up? Is there a plan, or are you just leaving it open-ended?
Like you said, youngsters, we think we know everything, but then the next day we're like, oh my God, I didn't know anything yesterday. Similarly, I think I'm like any other kid. Yeah, I do know that I have to complete my studies. So that's a promise that I made to myself when I stepped into pageantry. And that's something I will complete. But I wouldn't lie that I have enjoyed my year doing various sort of things. And when I came back from Miss World, I was like, is it medical or is it Bollywood? But now, like 1 year as Miss World, I realized it's not just 2 options. I have like 100 options that I could
Give
go
me an idea.
into.
What are these options?
I can be a politician.
Okay, you could be you could be a politician. Like, there's no reason why not.
And I've met such great
now
people.
Now that you're 21, you can run for like a fairly different elections.
I mean, I need to qualify first, but that would mean like completing my education. But education is something that I'm not leaving. But again, I feel. With time, I'm gonna know what exactly where I want to go. But like I said, time is on my side.
Absolutely.
I'm young and I have a lot of time to experience to explore my opportunities. So I'm still a little.
No, I'm very excited about this politician idea. Let's talk more about that.
I think I never thought that I could be a good politician, but. I don't know, I just feel, and a lot of people have told me that, especially this year, ever since I won Miss India, I remember going to Haryana and I met the governor over there, and he told me, are you interested in politics? And I was like, I don't think that's my cup of tea. No. But ever since he got me thinking that, can I be a politician as well? I really don't know, Faye. I think, I'll be very honest, medical is something that's always interested me. I enjoy in front of the camera, and I've had best of both now. This 1 year, I couldn't think of where to go. I've always been a person who's planned my life, but now that suddenly, I've realized that I'm giving the crown, and I'll be moving on to new things in life. I don't know. I think only time will tell. I would like to prepare myself for that.
Unlike other 21-year-olds in the country, your parents will not be like, "Bade hoke kya banoge? Kuch karo apne life ke saath." Because you've already checked that box off. So nobody has to be worried about you at home. You can take your time to make up your mind.
Well, my parents are like any other parents, Indian parents. They'll always be worried about my future and what I'm going to do. But
are they still worried? Do they still ask you, what are you going to do next? Have you decided?
I don't think they've ever asked me that in my life because I've been this kid I've never listened to anyone. I've just done what I wanted to do. And I've never sat them down and asked them that, what do you think I should do? I've just told them maybe at dinner tables like, hey, I want to do Miss India. Hey, I want to do this.
No, but I've always wanted to ask you that question. And your dad's a doctor.
Yeah, my mom's
a doctor. So you come from a family of doctors.
Yeah.
And it is common knowledge in India how hard it is to get a medical seat.
That is true.
It is difficult. It's hard.
And
I'm sure you worked long and hard to qualify for that medical seat, and then halfway through it, you were like, Miss India karna hai. So at what was their reaction when you said that? When you halfway through medical college, you said, I'm going to sign up for Miss India.
Miss World was a dream which was there since childhood. That was something I always knew. But again, Miss World is not a career. It's an experience. And irrespective of whatever you're doing in life, it's an experience. It's a competition, and then you reign as one year. So I couldn't think of it as my career. But when I was 14, I decided that I want to start thinking about my college like I'm a person who always plans my life 10 years ahead. So I told my parents I want to be a doctor, and my mom's reaction was like, no, why? She told me, why do you want to be a doctor? There's so much you can do. You're involved in so many things. You want to be Miss World. Why do you want to just go into studies? And I told her that this is what interests me. This is what I want to study. I'd rather study nothing than study to be a doctor. So, but I think my parents, they've experienced this in their life that they got to do what they wanted to do. They wanted to be doctors. So they want us to experience, to do what we want to do, what makes us happy. And my mom, they told me, they said that we want you to be a good human being, irrespective of whatever you end up doing.
How many years of medical school did you finish?
1.5.
Out of 5, right?
Out of 5.
Out of 5. Okay. Do you think that made you a better Miss World? Did it make you understand things better, understand issues better when you came across them?
I can't say better or not, but different, yes. Okay. I think every Miss World had something different to offer, and what I had to offer, no one else did, because of my experience. And my medical college was a government hospital in rural Haryana. So what I got to see there, I wouldn't have gotten to see even in a metropolitan. Yes, that's my dad. He keeps going for rescue missions whenever there's a natural calamity and stuff. Okay. So that's where I get my inspiration from. But again, not just medical college, but also my parents, they've always encouraged me to, get into volunteering, to I just told you, my dad would always go and he'd send us pictures and he'd email. That time we didn't have WhatsApp, so he'd email us stuff from the tsunami that hit us. So, I think I always wanted to do something which was extraordinary. Like we all are ordinary, but you always strive to be extraordinary. And I think that's something that's always inspired me.
So you spent a year minus 2 weeks as Miss World.
Yes.
And you're right, there is always a lot of curiosity of, okay, so we saw you win the crown. What have you done for the last 1 year? Where have you been? What have you done? But I want you to first answer this question. There is a lot of criticism that beauty contests come under. Because one criticism is objectifying women, but the stronger one, which we should address right now, is the fact that it sort of makes young girls believe that this is what I need to look like in order to be beautiful. I have to be this thin, I have to have this color skin, I have to look a certain way, and that's across the world.
Yeah.
What have you found in the last 1 year, and what is your response to people who ask that question?
I'd honestly, the first thing I'd say is better to be informed before being opinionated.
Okay.
And I would admit that I was of that line of thought that before entering Miss India, I thought that I need to fit into this size. I need to, have this kind of hair and stuff. And I couldn't do that because I was in medical college. And I came to Miss India completely raw.
Okay.
There were contestants who were models who had already won pageants before who knew what it was all about. I knew as much as any common person knew what I saw on television or what I saw on the internet. I had never been a part of a pageant, and suddenly I'm put in Miss India, which is the biggest pageant of our country. So that is when I realized, through my journey, that it's not about, it's not about portraying a particular kind of beauty. It's about being the best version of yourself. And how, as cliche as it sounds, but you have to be yourself and you have to be your best version.
No, but the question of, say, young girls who are now 13, who are now 14, who will perhaps, who are genetically not going to ever look like you for whatever reason, and will then sort of dislike the way they look.
If you see me when I go to college, I look like any other normal person. It's just that when I'm Miss World, I know I have to make my hair in a certain way. I need to apply makeup. But when I go to college, I'm like any normal girl.
In fact, we have some of those photographs of what you look like in medical college. We should run some of those photographs as well.
I think when you watch Miss World is when you realize that beauty comes in all shapes, sizes, colors.
Yeah.
Every race, because Miss World, it's the entire world. You have more than 130 countries over there. And if you see the past winners, we all have been so different. By the way we look, our heights, our sizes, we're completely different. Miss World 2001 was from Nigeria, 2017 from India, and 2015 from Spain. So we're all quite different. It's It's the ingredient is not what you see outside. The outside might help you to stand out, maybe come to top 10, but beyond that, you know, there are other girls who are very pretty, who've worked as hard as you, but it's something that in the inside that makes you win.
You can be anybody. I think that's the message we should send out, that you can, you know,
you
for all the young girls who are watching, you can either be a doctor or you can be Miss World, you can be whatever you set your mind to.
Yeah, I think it's just hard work and passion.
You know, there's a really fun photograph I have about the fact that you got into makeup really early.
Yeah.
You put that photograph up of Manushi trying her hand out at makeup.
Oh my God.
What was going on here?
Okay, so I have been. I used to watch my mom. I remember this day. So my mom, because they both were working, and my nanny never stopped me from doing anything. She would be like, you know, you want to break the house, go ahead, do it.
Yeah.
That's how they are in South India. So I took her talcum powder. I opened the bottle. I put it all on the table. I took my dad's handkerchief, I tapped it, and I put it on my face. This is nothing. Once I shaved my eyebrows off because I saw my mom getting her eyebrows done, and my mom
shaved them off completely.
Completely. I had no eyebrows.
Wow. Why isn't there a photograph of that?
And then my mom comes back home, and I'm looking guiltily at her because I was probably like 3 years old, and I was like, "You look different. Did you do something?"
You were handling a razor at 3 years old.
I just saw it. Like I somehow managed to, you know, get my hands on it, and I completely shaved my eyebrows off. And you know, I think my mom, I was so scared. I didn't know how she'd react. Should I laugh at you? She said, "What have you done? You look like an alien."
But given the fact that you handled a razor at 3 and only took off your eyebrows.
Oh yeah, I was always very meticulous, and I was always very artistic about things. Like that is something I'd give myself credit for. I've been very careful. Even as a kid, yeah.
You've met, of course, the girls who are now going to Miss World and Miss Universe, the current Miss Indias. Anukriti Vyas is going to Miss World.
Yes, she's already in China.
She's already in China. Have you given her advice? Have you spoken with her?
Yes, I have gotten the opportunity to see her journey in the last 1 month. Before that, because I myself was very caught up, I couldn't meet her. But I've seen her right from her personal interview at Miss India and who she is today, and it's quite exciting because, you know, people usually think you need to be a certain kind to win Miss India, but me and Anukriti, I think we are examples. We're complete opposites, and we won the same pageant.
Yes.
And you know, I think what I really love about her is how much she enjoys herself.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I enjoyed. I enjoy watching her on stage. So I like her. Like she's totally chilled out about everything. She's very relaxed, and she knows how to have fun in the worst situations in life.
And she comes from also a very different part of the country. She comes from a very different background. So we've had her in the studio as well, and she's a really interesting girl. So are the other two. But I want to go back to the last 1 year and your experience of the last 1 year.
Yeah.
There's a documentary that was made that followed you around for 1 year. Is that how it
Yes, this 1 year. Because everyone would wonder what Miss World actually does. So we decided to make us it's 365 days put in around, I think, 6 episodes of me traveling around the world, because I'm also the first Miss World who traveled every continent.
Wow. What was that like? Exhausting, I'm assuming.
It was exhausting, but it's 1 year, you know, I could afford that for 1 year.
Yeah.
It's an experience that I'm going to take you know, it's one girl in a million who gets that experience. So we had cameras with us going around, and I didn't know that it would translate into a documentary. I would have looked better on camera than otherwise. When I was running all over the place, and you'd get to see what we actually do. You know, when we get our hands dirty, when the crown, we're not wearing the crown, the tiaras are off, our shirt sleeves are rolled up, and we're actually, you know, getting involved into helping the community. It's not just about...
Give me an example of what you're talking about.
Well, one of the examples, I'd say... One of the trips that I went to was the British Virgin Islands, where they have one school for children with special abilities. And that was the only school, and with the hurricanes that came last year, it was completely knocked off, and there was only one staircase left. British Virgin Islands doesn't have a population, they don't have a lot of labor. They lost her so much that the school was the last thing they wanted to invest in. They had their hospitals to build, they had homes to build. So that was a project that Miss BVI was bringing to us since 2 years, to the Miss World organization. And this year, you know, Miss World decided to fly. So we all flew down to the BVI. it was a 36-hour flight, like a series of flights that we took. But, we actually got our hands dirty in clearing the mess because there's no one, there's no labor, there's, we got volunteers from all across the world. And I actually have those pictures on Instagram, like we're all wearing helmets and we're all trying to clear everything up. So now the one of the floors is done.
Being built, yeah.
Yes, and then we also raised money. We did a charity fashion show. We went to meet the Prime Minister and the Governor of the BVI to so that the government would given more funds. So with all those things, you do glamorous stuff as well to raise the money, and then you get your hands dirty. So you get to see both the sides.
So, if there were cameras following you around for the last 1 year, is it more like a reality show? Were there moments of tears and some moments of... Because, I mean, it is 1 year, that's, so... Yeah, it couldn't have all been this perfect.
No, absolutely not. I think there are times when we're not as dolled up and, when we're just like normal girls, like trying to make a change. And there was one time that I think I had a breakdown, and I'd always take pride in the fact that I'm always very composed, I'm always very calm in these situations, and maybe that comes from the fact that I was a medical student. We know how to empathize in a way that we're not giving sympathy, but making the other person feel respected. And that's why I don't feel like, crying, but instead empathize in a different way. I don't know what happened, but that was the first time I ever saw a leper colony in my life. And we usually don't tend to understand leprosy that well, though India has the highest rate, because we don't get to see them.
Yes.
And similarly, Brazil has the second highest rate. And we went to Belém, which is right on the border of the Amazon forest, where people don't have access to anything. There was not even a proper 5-star hotel over there. We stayed in very normal places, and we went into the Amazon, into the communities, and we saw this leper colony where people who've been treated 30 years ago still have to stay because the society doesn't accept them. And when you get to listen to their story, people have lost their limbs because they didn't know what leprosy was about. Doctors didn't want to treat them. Hospitals turn them out. So I think that was the first time I had a breakdown myself when I spoke to the oldest woman she's 92 now, and she was a teenager when she was admitted in that
and she just spent her entire life there.
And she's been there her entire life. She was pregnant. She didn't know when she came in that she was pregnant, and she was forced. She said she didn't want to come, and she was separated from her child. 15 years later, when she met her child, even the child was reluctant to come back to her mother. So those kind of stories, I feel it's so unfortunate that 1947 is when we started developing vaccination and treatment for leprosy. Why in 2017 do people have to still live this way? So that was the first time I think I had a breakdown, and I didn't know that the cameras, I hope the cameras didn't capture it though. But I like to look really strong on cameras.
So you've also spent, one of your pet projects has been menstrual health.
Yes.
In India, and you said you've also taken it overseas.
To Africa, yeah.
We understand, I mean, the problems in India are very stark. The numbers are shocking.
Yeah.
But less than 20% of women in India have access to menstrual hygiene products.
Yeah, only 12% use sanitary products.
Use sanitary products. And the rest of them are just making do with this and that. And that we understand causes diseases that sometimes costs lives.
I think not only diseases, but it's your self-confidence. Girls are scared that they might soil their clothes. They don't go to school. And I think it's a very normal thing that happens every month in a girl's life. It shouldn't stop you from working. There are women who get, there are women who work and get paid per day, and missing 4 days of work in a month might cost them a lot. So I always felt it should be something that's limiting you, from doing
So actually, I mean, there's the medical part of it, or the hygiene and the product part of it is one problem. The other problem in India is the sort of stigma attached to, to menstruation.
Yeah.
Where even today, and this is not, you don't have to go into rural India to find this, where women are told to stay out of certain rooms, they're just,
And it's not just in India, it's all over the world.
So how do we battle that?
I think what I have realized out of my travels, and when I met people from every background to talk about menstruation, the first thing is to not fight the taboo.
Okay.
Because I feel whenever we go there and they become defensive whenever we tell them that, you shouldn't follow this. Instead, I think give them information and let them make informed choices. You you educate them, you give them information. You don't tell them this, that you were doing wrong. If a woman is using cloth, dirty cloth, you don't tell her that you were wrong. Just tell her this is how you can do it better. And I feel that people accept your idea better when they feel more empowered, because you be a part of them and then tell them how to live their lives better. Similarly, I think that's how we approached, and it was great that people, even if they had any taboos in their head, once you give them a logic behind why you're menstruating, automatically it kind of
what were the
overcomes the
taboos
taboo.
like that you came across in other parts of the world?
I mean, in Africa specifically, I'd say there weren't taboos like we have in India. Like, you can't eat specific things, you can't step into specific zones. But in Africa, it was more hygiene related, that they didn't have access. But as such, they don't know why it happens. So again, they think it's something that's dirty. But they don't limit themselves from eating specific things. Or again, where we went to in Africa, they just know that there's menstruation. In India, what I feel is we have a knowledge which is the wrong knowledge. Yes. So that makes it a little tougher in India, because in Africa, they didn't know anything. They just thought it's blood, it's dirty. We don't need to go near it. But in India, it's like they related to a lot of different things. So first you need to break that down, and then you need to, get them to that basic level. So the taboos were more in India, and of course Nepal.
Yes, Nepal is shocking.
Was one of the countries that also came with a similar project during my year at Miss World. But the taboo part was not there as much in Africa.
What is, from your experience in your work in the last 1 year, what is your suggestion on how we overcome in India the battle of the cost and access to sanitary pads? It's still expensive.
It is.
And, a lot of people will not realize that giving a woman one packet is no good. Because every woman needs a certain number every month for a certain number of years for the rest of her life. So actually just distributing one packet is not going to help anybody's case. So how do we... It's a sustained program that we have to do. What is your solution?
Well, when I started the project, my idea was, of course, if you give them packets, you need to sustain it. Yeah. Instead, give them an opportunity to get those packets. So the project that I'm doing now, it's developed over time. So now what we're doing is we're doing charity, and we're getting sponsors, and we're raising money, and we buy a machine and we install it within the village. So we did that across 12 states in India. We're doing it in Sri Lanka, and we did that in South Africa. So and now we're going to Rwanda. So these machines manufacture sanitary pads from raw materials available naturally, like icornia, which is again, it's people are trying to prevent its growth because it takes over the whole aquatic life. We use banana fiber. You use jute in India. And so these are naturally available fibers. They're not carcinogenic. And the quality is as good as the normal pad available in the market. It's the first pad that's in India which has also been approved. So I was initially scared because it's gone through all the processes and it's out there in the market. These are not as expensive as the others. And we've been training women from the community, from tribal areas, to manufacture these pads.
And use them.
The raw material is available, you manufacture it, and then you use it. So I feel that you buy from the community, and then it goes into the community. So the economy is plowed back in.
What about in urban India, for example, for all of the people who are watching this interview, they will have people in their lives. Now, for someone who works in a construction site, for example, in urban India, even the cheapest packet of sanitary napkins available for, say, 20 rupees or 30 rupees is still a lot of money to spend every month. Is there a solution there? Should we pick some person and buy them a packet of sanitary napkins every month? Is there something that each of us can do?
I think, for you, me, or for most people, a 20 or a 30 rupees per month would not make that big a difference, but it can make a difference to anyone else's life. So if we can, that's a wonderful idea you've given me, and that's the next thing I think I'll be championing.
Because I was actually thinking about this, and if we gave someone,
that's more than enough.
So if you gave someone 100 rupees saying buy yourself sanitary napkins, there is no guarantee that money will actually, because all of these women will be moms, they'll have families, they'll think, I will use this on my child instead. But if we actually gave them a packet every month, because we all buy a packet every month. I mean, just buy 2 packets and just make sure that you give it to the same person every month. So after a point, she'll have to start using them.
And then, absolutely. I think this is a wonderful initiative, because even if you help one person helps one person, you can help like tens of thousands of women.
All right, we've run out of time, but like I said at the beginning, I love talking to you and I wish you such good luck. I think you're going to be a bright and a very, very powerful politician.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. And I think that we should have more people like Manushi Chhillar join politics and put some girl power and put some forward-thinking, younger, sprightly power into what our country needs, because our country needs people like you. So good luck. Have fun over the next 20 days in China and come back soon. We'll get to work again.
Yes,
Manushi Chhillar, Miss India and Miss World, with us in the studio. Thanks for watching.